is an interview with June Chappell on June 1st, 2010. With me, June.
You're welcome.
How many years have you lived in your home here?
23 years now.
And are you the house owner here, or do you lease?
No, I own it.
You own the house. Do you have any children here?
I have one son that still lives here. He's 20.
Do you have any other family in the house?
No, it's me and my son.
Well, it's very pretty out here.
Mm-hmm.
Could you give me a story of when you were first introduced to the natural gas drillers and the company, and how they first confronted you?
What I remember is just receiving a packet in the mail saying they bought the property and it would be drilling and we had our rights, and that's really all I can remember, them talking to me about anything. No one ever told me anything. The guy that came to bring me my paperwork said all that would be over there when they were finished was a few tanks, and that was it. Not that behind my house. Not that. And not all that over there. You know, all the wellheads and everything. There's a lot of different pieces over there. But that's all he told me, was there would be some green tanks over there. And I thought, okay.
How much of the property here do you own?
We own 1 3/4 acres.
And do you know who owns the property where the wellheads are?
Range Resources bought that property.
Oh, did they purchase it from you?
No. They bought it from a coal company in Cadiz, Ohio.
And so when you signed the lease, did they purchase your gas rights underneath the ground?
Yeah.
Did the lease include any type of wells or anything on your property?
No.
So when did they start building?
Drilling?
Drilling.
It was 2 years ago in October. They started. They cleared out all the trees. They had a logger. There was a logger came in. He took out almost all the woods back here. All that over there. All this behind here is gone. This was all woods.
And they clear cut it?
Pretty much. And then they started drilling. And it was lit up like a Christmas tree. 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Walls were vibrating in my house for I don't know how long that took. It seemed like forever. It was rough.
Did you have any communication with the drillers at that point?
No, none.
Did you receive anything from Range Resources to prepare you for what was coming?
No. No. And the part that made me especially mad was we had no idea that frac pit would be put right behind our house. None. Didn't have a clue until it was done. And they were filling it with water. And I told them if I would have had any idea they were going to do that, I would have been laying in front of their bulldozers. Because I wouldn't have let it happen. I would have fought them. And it ended up being a 24-hour-a-day, 7-day-a-week, non-stop business. There would be trucks, big water trucks come down the road. As soon as they got to the front of my house, the Jake brakes start. They go right down to those green tanks that are closest here. Turn in and the backup beepers start. This was all night long. And my dogs would carry on. And then the inside dogs would carry on. We never slept. Never had a good night's sleep. It was just very disruptive to our lives. And all the while, my husband was really sick with cancer. And they knew he was sick. And, you know, I kept telling them. And the only thing they offered us was, well, we could put you up in a motel. I'm like, I can't take him to a motel. He's sick. So we had to stay and just deal with it. It made me really mad.
What have your neighbors said about the drilling? Do they feel the same way you do?
Yeah, pretty much. Especially them, because the lights were like right in their front windows. And, you know, my house was impacted. And it just seems like myself and them got the worst of it. And when they did the fracking, that was pretty horrendous. I had no clue what I was in for. And there were about, 30 generator trucks down there. All over down in there. Running 24 hours a day, 7 days a week for like 10 days. We had tractor-trailer trucks coming down here every 10 minutes full of sand for them to frack these wells. And the noise was just heart-pounding. I mean, you couldn't sit out here. We had to sit in the house, and you could barely hear your television with the windows closed. And then when that was finished, they flared it. That was horrific. They put the flare right behind my house here, and they decided to come up with this brainy idea that they were going to flare all 7 wells off of one big pipe. It was like having a 747 right in your face. The grates in my windows were going like this. For 3 days I stood it, and then I just went down to their office after them. And I just told them that I was charging them by the hour for every hour of hell they're putting my family through. And even now, to this day, I'm suffering from this real loud hissing in my ears. And it's from that. And all their excuse was, well, you know, we're learning as we go. And I said, well, unfortunately, at my expense. Really. And all they can say is, we're so sorry, Mrs. Chappell. And I just told them I don't want to hear one more of your sorry excuses. I've had it. So finally we got through all that, and then I had to fight getting this pit out of my backyard.
And how did you fight it?
Well, I went and I got an attorney. I went to my township meetings, and I told my township they were going to be in big trouble if they didn't support me on getting this out of here, because I've lived here a long time and paid my taxes, and they have completely destroyed the value of my property. So they better stand behind me. And I just went with my attorney, had a meeting with them, and the next thing you know, it hit the newspaper, and I don't know, it seemed to spread like wildfire, but they just decided that it wasn't worth all the aggravation of having me on TV and in the newspaper, and it was really bad for them, what they had done to me. Because I have a nice piece of property here, and I just told them, I said, you know, you've destroyed the value of my home, and I can't sell it. Said, you're either going to buy it now or you'll buy it later. And the next thing you know, they came up my house and said, we have good news for you. We're taking the pit out. It was like 2 days after my meeting with them. I was happy.
When they removed the pit, how did they do it? Did you watch them?
Yeah. They came several days with pumper trucks trying to pump out the water that was in it, you know, and then they would go down a little farther and just keep sucking it out. And then when they got it almost all out, they had bulldozers pick up the liner and just wrap it up, and I'll show you. It's in, I don't know, some kind of carriers back here. They've hauled several of them away already.
The liners?
Yeah. Pieces of it. Another thing was I found out that it had leaked, you know, and I kept insisting that it was leaking because I watched them spray blue stuff in the water. And my son worked for the company that lays the water lines, and he was working right over here on the other side of the pit, pumping the water that was leaking from the pit down over the hill, and they were letting it drain into another pit that they had put a liner into, and they would pump the water back up into this pit. So I had proof that it was leaking, and they tried to tell me it was coal seam leaking. I said, I don't think so. You don't come out here at 10 o'clock at night spraying blue stuff in the water if it's not leaking. And then I had proof. The DEP guy, Brian Miller, told me, yeah, it was leaking, and they're going to get fined for that. And then that liner caught on fire when they flared it, and they said nothing happened over that. And I gave him pictures, and they're going to get fined for that. They just acted like nothing happened, and it did happen. And they scared me half to death. I didn't know if the place was going to blow up or what. I felt like I was going to have a heart attack over being so frightened. And then they tell me, oh, we're trying to cool down the big blue pipe. The fire department had to stay here for 4 days and keep the fire out. Keep putting the fire out. And then after that, they had to replace the liner. But I just kept taking pictures.
That's good.
Yeah. After that, it's been quiet now.